in letter B, Hamilton's point is we don't need a Bill of Rights, because if you have this list, the federal government cannot do this, 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 and this. First of all, it's already understood they can't do those things, because 1/8 is the limit. But if you add these things, saying the federal government can't do this, this, and this, then someday down the road, the federal government can say, well, we can't do those things, but we can do everything else. And so he's saying it's what the danger is of adding the Bill of Rights. You think you're putting limits on the federal government, but you're actually giving them a pretext to increase their powers indefinitely. Something has to be, well, he's not even saying something has to be done about that. He's saying don't have a Bill of Rights. This is from the Federalist Papers. Madison is referring, when he's speaking in Congress in June 1789, and they're thinking about the Bill of Rights and how they, what should be added as amendments. He refers back to Hamilton. He says, look, this idea it's a very good objection to having a Bill of Rights, and the way he puts it is that if you enumerate particular exceptions to federal power, like the federal government can't do this, this, and this, that would disparage rights that were not placed in that enumeration, things that are out here under state government's powers, and the concern is it might follow by implication that the rights that were not singled out over here, or I should say over here, were intended to be assigned into the hands of the federal government. So he says this is very plausible. So the concern here, again, taking out the 14th Amendment, is that if you have a Bill of Rights, then the federal government could someday say, well, all this stuff belongs to us. So what Madison says in letter C is, but I think we can guard against this you can see what I've done to guard against it, and that's the last clause of the 4th resolution, which refers back to the 9th Amendment in a slightly different wording, but in what ends up to be the 9th Amendment. So you can see what the purpose of the 9th Amendment was. It was to prevent this constructive enlargement of the powers of the federal government, to use Madison's terms from another activity. So the 9th Amendment, just like every other part of the Bill of Rights, is putting an extra bar in the cage. Keep the federal government within its limits was the purpose of the Bill of Rights, including the 9th Amendment, which is what makes it all the more surprising what Justice Goldberg does in letter D. Justice Goldberg is on record as saying, and this is included in the book, that the way he looked at his job as a judge is to figure out what the right outcome would be and then find a way to justify it. And you can see that's what he's doing here. He begins by saying, look, we all know that for many years now the Supreme Court has been taking that word liberty in the 14th Amendment and reading it as personal liberties. So we've already taken power over personal liberties, but we're not acting like we've already taken power over personal liberties. We're limiting ourselves to little things within the Bill of Rights, whereas really the sky's the limit. Anything that's contained within the idea of personal liberties, we have jurisdiction over. That's what the 9th Amendment means, he's saying. He's saying that the 9th Amendment means that people also have personal liberties. And so, but notice what he concludes in this. This is the exact opposite of what the 9th Amendment actually means. For the founders, the 9th Amendment meant put an extra bar in the cage. But Goldberg says, wait, that word liberty in the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment doesn't have to be confined to only things within the Bill of Rights, because the 9th Amendment says that the list of rights in the Bill of Rights is not complete. There's other rights. So therefore, that word liberty in the 14th Amendment can mean anything. It can mean any right, anything within personal liberties or anything we say it is. So what's striking here is that whereas the 9th Amendment was designed to keep the federal government within this limit, leaving personal liberties under state jurisdiction,